Madam Clerk, can you call chamber announcement, emergency evacuation announcement and comment period?
Emergency evacuation guidelines. On activation of the emergency alarm signal, all persons should immediately exit the building. Please use the exits to the left or right front of the council chamber or the east or west stairwell outside the rear doors of the chamber. Do not use elevators or escalators. After exiting the building, security will direct everyone down 9th Street to the assembly area located inside the former public safety building parking lot. Able persons should assist visually and hearing impaired visitors with exiting the building. Public speaker guidelines. Individuals wishing to speak during public hearings and the public comment period are generally allowed 3 minutes to speak. Persons appearing before the committee are not allowed to campaign for public office, promote private business ventures, use language of a personal nature which insults or demeans any person, including comments directed at public officials or staff members that are not related to their official duties, or address or question staff members directly. All questions are to be directed to the committee chair. Failure to adhere to the guidelines may result in speakers forfeiting any remaining time and further disciplinary action as necessary, which could include barring from attendance at future committee meetings for a period of 6 months. And Madam Chair, all members of the committee are in attendance this afternoon, and you do have a quorum.
Thank you. Can you, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
Madam Chair, no one signed up to speak virtually before the 10 a.m. deadline.
Thank you. And let's do approval of the minutes and then papers.
Minutes to be approved are from the Tuesday, October 21st, 2025 Land Use, Housing, and Transportation Standing Committee meeting held at 3 p.m. If there are no corrections or amendments, then the minutes will be approved as presented.
Thank you. Let's move to papers for consideration.
The first paper before the committee today is Ordinance 2025-242 to authorize the CAO to execute a First Amendment to the Maymont Foundation Operating Agreement for the purpose of allowing the Maymont Foundation to continue managing, maintaining, operating, and improving Maymont Park. That paper is before the committee.
Do we have anyone here from the administration? Oh, hey, Mr. Frelke. Thank you.
There we go. Good afternoon. Chris Frelke, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Community Facilities. We are supportive of this paper. As you'll notice, there's a 1-year extension of the current agreement because we've had a lot of transition in the city over the last year with different CAOs and DCOs over that. So we just want to make sure we look at this as a long-term agreement. We want to make sure we get it right because we haven't really looked at this for the last 30 years. And there's a lot of details and a lot of things that we want to make sure go into this agreement.
Yeah.
Well, let's do the public hearing first. And then.
Is there anyone in the chamber who wishes to speak in opposition to this paper? Anyone to speak in support of this paper? Madam Chair, seeing no one present wishing to speak to this item, the public hearing is now closed. Back to the committee.
I was going to ask, are there any downsides to using this 1-year extension versus kind of biting the bullet and signing a longer term contract? Are we creating any difficulties related to the relationship by creating a 1-year transition period, or is this all simply buying us more time?
Yeah, I think, and we have our partners here, but I think we want to make sure we get it right, and I think there's a lot of details and there's still some nuances that need to be worked out that we realize we couldn't be able to get that done in the terms with both parties. So we just wanted to talk through some of those pieces still.
Now, if I asked for you to explain like the types of questions that are up there, would that be exposing like negotiations in a way that's inappropriate? Or can you speak to the types of concerns that we need to figure out between the old contract and the new contract?
Yeah, I think that what we want to look at is to make sure that we put the city and council and all of y'all in the best place moving forward, and also the foundation, so that we balance some of those different pieces, whether it's different terms related to maintenance, related to all the different pieces on that. I don't know if we want to go into the exact specifics because we're still trying to negotiate all those pieces, but I think it's just making sure we get a mutually beneficial agreement for both parties.
I mean, I'll say I have not, been asked to speed anything along, so I think it probably sounds fine to me to do the 1-year extension. So I think that ought to be just fine. But thank you. So I moved that we forward this with a recommendation to approve.
Second that, and I want to thank you guys for the work that is being done there. I mean, the park is great. It's been well maintained. Keep up the good work.
Committee is now voting on a motion to forward ordinance 2025-242 to council with a recommendation to approve. Mr. Breton,
Aye.
Vice Chair Robertson, Chair Jones.
Aye.
That motion has been approved. The next paper before the committee is ordinance 2025-243 to authorize the CAO to execute a non-exclusive license agreement between the city and Flixbus, Inc. for the purpose of granting permission to use a portion of Main Street at 1500 East Main Street as a bus stop. That paper is before the committee.
Okay. 4 o'clock is on the way.
Good afternoon, Chair Jones, members of the committee. Diana Moore Clark here, Department of Public Works. Today before you is a license agreement for Flixbus Incorporated. Flixbus is an inner-city bus provider here in the city of Richmond. They're currently operating under a 90-day license agreement, and we're looking to formalize that in a agreement that goes up to 5 years with renewals. Each year, it's projected that Flixbus will bring in a little under $15,000. And that is, of course, used for the upkeep and maintenance of Main Street Station. Provided in the package is the exhibit of where they would dock and off-dock their people. And it's right there at Main Street Station at the plaza. It's been very successful with the transition of Greyhound, making it a pickup and drop-off location. And so this would complement that service.
Hold a public hearing.
Is there anyone in the chamber who wishes to speak in opposition to this paper? Anyone in support of this paper? Madam Chair, seeing no one present, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
Motion to approve. Sorry.
Oh, then I second the motion.
Committee is now voting on a motion to forward ordinance 2025-243 to council with a recommendation to approve. Mr. Breton,
Aye.
Vice Chair Robertson,
Aye.
Chair Jones.
Aye.
That motion has been approved. The next paper before the committee is Resolution 2025-R045 to initiate an amendment to the city's zoning ordinance to establish a civil penalty for the demolition or moving of a building or structure located within a city old and historic district in violation of the city's zoning ordinance as authorized by Virginia Code Section 15.2-2306F. That paper is before the committee.
Do we have anyone here to speak on behalf of this paper? Administration.
I believe this is patroned by Councilmember Jordan. However, this is Kevin J. Vaughn, Director of Planning Development Review. Was here last time, and staff is supportive of adoption of this resolution to have us work on adopting an ordinance in accordance with permissions granted by the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Mr. Clerk, we will hold the public comment on this paper.
Is there anyone in the chamber who wishes to speak in opposition to this paper? Anyone in support of this paper? Madam Chair, seeing no one present wishing to speak to the item, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
Colleagues?
Yes. Question. Thank you. So the question I have, it says, so first of all, the penalty is twice the assessment value. Is that correct?
Up to twice the assessment value. So depending on the legislation, you could do something less. The maximum penalty you could impose is up to twice the assessed value. However, if you just wanted to do the assessed value or a percentage of, you could do some combination. It's just the cap, the maximum penalty you can impose is twice the assessed value of the property.
And my second question, raising, demolition or moving of a building or structure that is located in the city old and historic district. How many old and city old historic districts we have? And are
We
there
went through
lots
this last
of-
time, and I'm missing my right hand on this. I believe we have 30 some with about 4,000 properties, maybe 8,000.
4,000?
Yeah, I've got to go back and check my notes on this one, but yeah, I don't have that right before me at this moment.
And so does this relates to a structure or building within that district, irregardless as to whether or not it has been officially classified as old and historic?
So yeah, I think if I'm getting to the nuance is if it's in the district, the reason it should be in the district is because it's most likely contributing to that district. But if the boundaries of the city old and historic district encapsulate that property, whether or not it is on a federal register or individually designated on a city designation, any structure within the boundaries of that district would qualify under this ordinance.
Are we still building new in those districts?
Yes, both existing structures, adding on new construction, and we also have vacant parcels in those districts. We have some parking lots that are getting redeveloped. So there's still room for additional new development.
So I've known in the past, there have been times when there's been a structure like a shed or not necessarily a living dwelling, but classified as a building or a structure that has been taken down that may not have been considered as a contributing structure to the old and historic, but within the boundaries, and have subsequently had tremendous impact on the developer that may have taken that old shed or whatever down on a lot. Would that, based on the way I'm understanding, that could still apply as it relates to us imposing this kind of penalty? Is that correct?
I would need to check with our city attorney, but I believe, and again, this is enabling resolution to like have us prepare some language to present back to you. I believe an alternative may be to structure the ordinance in a way that may only apply to principal structures. So housing units, there's a potential that you could either exempt or have a different penalty for like a shed, a garage, or something that's something accessory on it. I believe there is room to have that differentiation in the language. I would just need to check with the city attorney to see if we're enabled to do that. But I'm guessing, is that the question you're asking? Tearing down a house versus tearing down a shed without a permit?
All right, so you're saying this legislation basically just requests for the enabling of carrying out this. Is there a timeline that we are looking at that something will come back to us? If we vote this up, what type of timeline are we looking at? And what would be the process that it would go through once we get that legislation back?
Sure. Just given that we're kicking off the second round of code refresh today, I would say probably after the holidays, we could present a draft to come back to you for this body for, I'll say, an informal discussion about whether or not to move forward, getting some feedback from this body. We'd also want to do some public engagement on this. And then based on those, that feedback, we would submit it as part of an O&R of the legislation to get formally adopted. But I would say within 60 to 90 days, we could probably have some type of draft available for comment and consideration informally.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilmember Robertson actually asked the question I was going to ask, which was to confirm that this is a resolution requesting the beginning of the true process of legislation in which all the details could be worked out, precisely what the fines are, precisely what, exemptions might be, et cetera. So glad to hear that confirms that those details can be hammered out in the legislation process. I think I would want to say, I could say it here, I could say it later, I would like to be added as a co-patron of this resolution. And I move that we forward this with a recommendation to approve.
Committee is now voting on a motion to forward Resolution 2025-R045 to council with a recommendation to approve. Mr. Breton,
Aye.
Vice Chair Robertson,
Aye.
Chair Jones.
Aye.
That motion has been approved. The last paper before the committee is Resolution 2025-R046 to declare surplus and to request the CAO to seek offers, bids, or proposals by solicitation for the city-owned property located at 8790 Strath Road for the purpose of facilitating the solicitation of offers by invitation for bids or RFPs pursuant to City Code Section 8.61 or 8.62. That paper is before the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Someone, is Mr. Chris Nizam, he's online. He can speak to this paper.
Okay, yes, I'm on the line and I just wanted to offer some comments. This paper has been in front of you in the past. It didn't make it back to City Council. It was discussed or continued to move it to another ordinance to allow us the opportunity to advertise and solicit bids for the property versus accepting the offer that we had in place. It's pretty much the same. Nothing really has changed since then. So we're just seeking, in following that request, seeking your permission to an authorization to proceed with a open bid on this property.
Thank you. Let's do a public hearing on this paper.
Is there anyone in the chamber who wishes to speak in opposition to this paper? Anyone to speak in support of this paper?
Madam Chair, members of committee, my name is Charles Willis, good friend of the neighboring housing development or housing that is close to this development. It's pretty interesting that this paper came back before you all in this fashion. The patron that had, or not the patron, but the folks that live next to this property is very well known. I don't want to mention names because you all are pretty familiar with persons that live next to it. However, I do want to share with the committee that the neighbors that live adjacent to this property have been maintaining this property for almost 10 years that belongs to the city. They have not asked the city for one dime, but they have spent a tremendous amount of money maintaining the city property. And the fact that when it got to a point where the property became quite blighted, and then they started noticing copperhead snakes and other things, and I've been out there several times, then that's when it became a very concern to the property owner next to it, adjacent to it. It's not nothing they can do with it. They can't bill on it. The Henrico County says the same, it's not worth building on it. The city definitely says it's not worth building on it. But what the property owner wants to do that is adjacent to it is just to continue to maintain it. Maybe do some shrubbery or make it, try to plant some flowers or something like that. But I do want to say that due to some death in the family, that the resident that is next to it could not be here today. And I definitely knew that they would have been here along with myself. And there were to share that. I think it's extremely important that the council understands that the property owner that's next to it, that has been maintaining it, put a lot of dollars into it, should be given great consideration in putting out the bid. Again, it was pretty strange because it was before council, it was about to be bidded on, and then all of a sudden, someone came up and said, no, we think this should go before a special paper and it should be open for a bid. And I know that's something that council want. They want fair opportunity for anyone. However, I want council to consider the property owners that are next to it, that they would have an opportunity to bid on it and bid on it fairly as they have offered to put a bid in. They did bring a bid before the city. I thought it was a pretty reasonable one. It's in adjacence to what the county said is valued at and the city said it's valued at. So thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to speak on this paper.
Thank you so much. Do we have anyone online? Speak to this paper?
No, Madam Chair, we do not.
Okay.
Seeing no one else present wishing to speak to this item, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd like a little bit more explanation as to what the paper is asking, from the administration, what exactly we asking for to be done. Is the property, are we asking that the property be surplus? Has it been surplus? Why are we soliciting bids? I've known that, I mean, there are other proposals that have come before us to purchase that have not gone to bid. So I guess I'm trying to make sure I'm clear on the process.
Mr. Nazamus, can you speak to Mrs. Robinson's question?
Yes, I can. This particular paper is slightly different than what came through originally. The first ordinance was specifically to declare it surplus and convey it at the same time. When some opposition came up to continue the paper, it was decided by council to look at going out to bid to solicit opportunities for other people to bid on this property. In this case, it's a combination of to declare it surplus, which would allow us the opportunity to go out to bid. It has not been previously declared surplus to date. And we typically do not go on any unsolicited offer up to date. We'll either act on that offer but we do not typically just go out and solicit bids for any offers that we receive. It's just
Okay.
us acting on that offer that was received and moving it forward.
Thank you for that. So for clarity, what you're saying is typically we are known to receive an unsolicited bid and we move on that. But based on the recommendation for Resolution 2025R046, which is a new paper, that would require and prompt us to do something different, which is declare it surplus, then put it out to bid. Is that correct?
That is correct. We would solicit either through papers or posting on our website the notification that the property is available, which would allow other recipients to bid on it should they choose to.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I still want to get a procedure process straight because I know that we've gotten unsolicited bids before and we've taken action on the bids and awarded appropriately. The reason why this particular unsolicited bid is being requested that we go back and surplus the land first. And so the question is, going forward, there are lots of unsolicited bids that we know that the city has already received. This bid had been received for quite some time and was going through whatever administrative process, my understanding. I don't know exactly how long that was, but I'm sure that we can be informed as to how long it's been in an administrative process in the city. And if the city's process is that if we get an unsolicited bid, is change from what we've done in the past, we received unsolicited bids and we've acted on them. If the policy is changed, does it apply to unsolicited bids that came in before the new policy is put in place for bids? And if that is the case, what bids are out there right now that we've received? And have we notified those folk that even though we've been a year or more in an administrative process, that we are going to put this property out for bid? Because there are a lot of folk that are out there waiting, have been waiting for some time for the administration to do whatever process they need to process to get this to the council for action. So the historic process was followed. And now we are asking, we're changing the policy in midstream and asking for this property to be put out for bid. If I'm incorrect, please someone correct me, because I'm basing this on what previous conversation we've had as well. And if that's not correct, I hope that someone would correct me, whether it's the attorney, Ms. Ebert, whoever process these types of requests, unsolicited requests for sale of property.
Mr. Nazamis has a response online.
Yes, if I can respond to that, Councilwoman Robertson is correct in her statement. It is, I received the unsolicited offers. They do go through our department. Up till this particular ordinance, we've not been requested or required of us to go out to bid on any of the properties. We have sold a number of properties in the past without doing so. So this is the first one that's kind of questioned and put in front of us the need to go out to bid or to solicit bids on it. So you are correct.
Yeah.
So with that, Madam Chair, I can support new policies, and I think new policies, if we've adopted those policies and that's the way we're going to do business, then I think that's absolutely the way we should do business. But for every unsolicited bid that we have right now that's been sitting in our queue, as you say, and no action has been, these people have not been notified. They've been waiting patiently for the city to do whatever due diligence they need to. I feel very strongly that those unsolicited bids needs to be grandfathered and all new ones coming in is applicable to the new policy that we've created. So I'm recommending that we approve the bid, the unsolicited bid, which is different from this paper. So I'm not supporting this going out for bid. I've been requesting that we grandfather those applications that have been submitted for a long time, for months, sometimes a year more, and that we publicly make the community aware of our new policy of how we're going to handle surplus properties for bids, adequately inform people so that they will know what that process is and that we move forward. So if this paper is to declare surplus for the purpose of bidding, I'm recommending that we do not approve this paper that is before us.
You have some?
Well, yeah, well, I was going to ask another question about the precedent and the policy. So I want to make sure that I also understand that it is true that, Ordinance 2017-069, which is, an 8-year-old policy, does say that, no ordinance to direct the sale of real estate and an unsolicited offer may be introduced until we've declared it surplus. And it offers multiple ways to then, manage it after that. So in terms of a policy, I mean, I see a policy that's 8 years old that we could be following. So I think I would need to see the compelling evidence that there is some other policy that we would be following. Now, I know that we're just making a recommendation here, and the true council vote will be the one that really makes the decision. But I think in terms of framing the discussion about whether we're being consistent with a policy, the only policy I know of is the one from 2017 that says we can't convey a property from an unsolicited offer until we have first announced it as surplus and then gone through one of the processes from 8-61 or 862 and 863. So I don't have a strong opinion on exactly what recommendation we make out of this. Probably no recommendation, and allow the full council to make the vote.
Thank you to both of my colleagues. And I want to just level set a little bit, one, of how this conversation even started, because I don't even think we're even addressing that. And what prompted the conversation was the affordable housing and us not having a lot of housing stock and really looking at what we have available, what's in the city's purview to build on, to not build on. And then this property came up. And the council was saying, well, if we are concerned with affordable housing and we have land, why would we just give it away? But the realization is this is not land that we can build on. That's first of all, right? And because we cannot build on it, and we have in the past, contrary to the policy that says what we do, we have already been told that we have done unsolicited offers. So we cannot hold strong to the policy if we haven't followed the policy to begin with. Is that correct, legal? I'm looking over to get, okay. So I agree with both of you, but I also agree strongly with Ms. Robinson, just based on the fact that if we are going to institute a policy, we can't just do it on the fly, because as I've noted before, what made this particular situation flag, we needed to do this, but we've been not doing it. So with that being said, I think our option is to forward with no recommendation or no, what we withdrawing it? Legal? What we I'm not looking for the most neutral. I'm talking about what we shouldn't do is we don't recommend approving this.
But the options is to recommend it with approval for recommendation, or to send it up without recommendation or approval, or to just send it up.
So I think what we're all saying is send it up with no recommendation. Is this correct?
I want to make sure I'm hearing her correctly. Correct. So you are saying that we can move this forward with a recommendation to not support.
To strike, to strike it. To strike it.
Okay, so we have to.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Well, then that's my motion, that we strike it. Motion to strike. I recommended not supporting it, but that's not what the attorney has advised me. So if she's advised me that.
Right, Mr. President has the motion.
I made a recommendation and he's made one too. So we have two recommendations on the table is what you're saying. Yeah, we got to get rid of me first and then you can.
His was first?
His is first.
Oh, his is first, they saying.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Need to have a second. Yeah.
Neither.
Yeah.
Sorry for the confusion.
Sorry. Mr. Breton's motion needs a second, and then his can be considered if there is a second. Then Ms. Robertson's motion, if properly seconded, is to be considered next. So there is a need for a second on Mr. Breton's motion. And if he receives that second, then the subcommittee can consider his motion.
I was attempting to find the most neutral way to forward it, which was what my motion was, to forward it along with neither a recommendation to approve nor to strike. That was my motion.
So your motion now needs a second. Just forward.
Receiving no second, Mr. Breton's motion would fail.
Right. If it does not receive a second, his motion fails. And then we go to Ms. Robertson's motion. So and she needs a second for her motion. Hers was to strike it. Motion to strike paper number 4.
It's my motion.
So Mr. Breton's motion doesn't appear to have a second.
Mr. Breton's motion has failed. We will need a second for the motion to forward the resolution to council with a recommendation to strike.
Just for clarification, I want to be clear because I do know that there's another paper. So I want to be clear, if we strike this paper and then the paper that is on for the next council meeting, which is the original paper, gets to determine what the process will be, or, because that's separate, yeah. I got it.
I mean, well, I believe that the outcome that we should look for is for both of the options to be available to council to vote on, right? Probably one after another after discussion in December, and so we will forward our paper to that with either a recommendation or no recommendation, right? Even if we recommend to strike it, I think that council still has the opportunity to ignore that recommendation and take either one. So, so I'm suggesting that the recommendation we send is no recommendation at all, but I can be clarified by other experts in the room on the process.
May it please the committee, RJ Warren, Council Chief of Staff. So how this works is based on the 2 recommendations that are kind of being thought of on the floor. If it gets forwarded with no recommendation, it'll be on the agenda for consideration and public hearing on December 8th alongside the original ordinance. If it gets recommended with a recommendation to strike, when the clerk's office goes over the agenda amendments at the beginning of the meeting, they're going to say that this resolution is to be stricken. And if the agenda amendments are approved, then the resolution is stricken and there will be no public hearing on this resolution. So if you want them both to have a public hearing to be considered, then it's a recommendation, it's presented forward with no recommendation. But if you want it to be stricken at the beginning of the meeting, then it would need to be a recommendation to be stricken.
Second,
To Mr. Breton's motion to,
yeah,
okay. A second to
to this,
Robertson's motion.
yes.
Okay.
If I'm hearing correct, what Mr. Warren is saying, we can, at council, it will come up that we will say that this has been stricken and you can still have a public comment on it, correct? You won't have a vote. Sorry.
It would only be for public comment if there is no recommendation. A recommendation to strike.
If
Okay,
it's recommended to be stricken, there will be no public hearing. However, caveat is a member of council can make a motion to override the recommendation to strike and place it back on the agenda that evening. They don't necessarily have to go with the recommendation of this body. So if you want it to have a public hearing, then you would be with no recommendation. If you want it to be stricken during agenda amendments at the beginning of the meeting, recommendation to strike, which can be overridden by a majority of council at that meeting.
Did you second anything?
This one is a little challenging.
I think that there is, room to discuss the merits of both, at the next council. I think it's heavy-handed to push it all the way to stricken and to put it on the onus of someone to unstrike it to even have the discussion. I think that's overstepping on this. I think sending it along in a neutral fashion, allows the conversation to go forward.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, this is a challenge one, but I'm sorry, Ms. Robinson. I think we need to support sending it with no approval.
Okay.
Yes, and we need to have a discussion with the full body. Yep,
So Councilwoman Jones, that's your
so,
motion
You'll
to
have-
send it forward with
yeah,
no recommendation.
yes.
Okay, is there?
I second that.
Second, okay.
The committee is now voting on a motion to forward Resolution 2025-R046 to council with no recommendation. Mr. Breton,
Aye.
Vice Chair Robertson,
No.
Chair Jones.
Aye.
That motion has been approved.
All right, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Can we have the staff report?
You have the staff report before you that reviews the papers. Just so you know that you all had requested a number of presentations with regard to affordable housing and the like, but there was a conference that a number of those potential presenters can't. Whoa, all I hear is echo and sounds loud. Okay, well, I'll start over. You have the staff report in front of you that reviews the papers. Just to let you know that the presentations you had requested are being rescheduled, in large part due to the prospective presenters being at the governor's housing conference. And we rescheduled at least one of them for next month. And that is from the Maggie Walker Land Trust.
That's it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. And as a part of this committee, we are looking to come back together to start working on our presentation schedule for next year, 2026. I can't believe it's already almost a whole year that we've been on this committee. But if there is no further business, this meeting.
Question,
Oh,
Mr.
ma'am.
Chair, Madam Chair. When is the next land use committee meeting, and are we meeting in December?
Do we have any presentations, Mr. Taylor, for December? We do, right?
We have moved the Maggie Walker Land Trust one to that time. The current meeting is scheduled for December 16th, but it's up to you all if you all would like to reschedule it, if that's what Mrs. Robertson is asking.
Just depends on, I think a lot of it, Madam Chair, I think we've got time to decide.
Right.
And a lot of it would depend on what other legislation that is coming before us. If the only important item is the land trust presentation, I would, and there isn't any
Right.
significant
Yeah.
legislation, then I would consider it. I would ask that we consider it.
No problem. Yep. We should know in the next.
Yes, that's your usual practice, that you take a look after the December meeting.
Sounds good.
Am I correct? So I see some action over my shoulder here. Okay.
Yep. All right. Well, if there is no further business, this meeting is adjourned.